At 70, you've weathered life's storms, experienced its sweetness, bitterness, and sorrow, and gradually come to understand many truths over time. At this age, you see through much of the world's illusions. Many beliefs that seemed unbelievable in your youth now become clearer and more palpable. It's not because you've become superstitious in old age, but because time has revealed their deep meanings to you. Life is a process like this, from ignorance to gradual enlightenment, until you finally grasp many principles. In your youth, you might have dismissed ancient wisdom and elders' sayings, thinking they were just outdated nonsense. But as you age, you begin to appreciate their value. There's an ancient proverb that says, "There are 3 things a person should never send. Sending them will inevitably bring disaster." So what are these 3 things? We must understand them in the context of our times, and strictly follow them, to avoid hardship in our later years. 1. Spouses should not attend funerals. Let grief be brief. ****. Once you pass 70, you are practically waiting for death's arrival. Familiar faces around you diminish. Old acquaintances and friends. One day, their phone no longer rings. Messages go unanswered. And later you find out they have passed away before you. At this age, most no longer have parents, and have reached an age where death is inevitable. Siblings live in different cities, and find it inconvenient to travel long distances. At best, you exchange a few words over the phone during holidays. The only one who stays by your side is your spouse. Some might say, your children are there too. But in reality, most children cannot stay by your side. By the time you are 70, your children are in middle age, dealing with the peak pressures of family life, struggling to make a living, and often away working. Even if they live in the same city, they rarely have time to take care of you. This is the reality of life. After 70, facing the death of those around you is unavoidable. No matter how strong your marriage, one of you will leave first. A spouse who has been with you since your 20s or 30s suddenly disappears from your world. Anyone would find it hard to accept at first. But life and death are natural. No one can change that. That's why there is the saying, grieve briefly and move on. This is life. When your spouse passes away, say your goodbyes at home, but do not follow to the funeral. To avoid unexpected events. The deceased is gone. The living must move forward. Life must continue, looking forward to better days. The departed cannot return, but the living still have lives to live. If you remain consumed by grief, your mental health will suffer, ultimately impacting your quality of life. Some elders, unable to cope, might even consider ending their own lives in sorrow. This is utterly unacceptable. Your children would be ashamed and suffer as a result. The sooner an elder moves on from the loss of a spouse, the more they respect the natural order and help their children, allowing them to go to work and live their lives with peace of mind. Moreover, visiting your spouse's grave isn't recommended. At your age, seeing the grave stirs sorrow, or the journey to the grave might be too taxing for your health. Leave it to your descendants instead. 2. Don't lend money to siblings, they're just relatives, ***. In our youth, we were taught to despise those who take advantage of others. A couple works hard to earn money, yet they do not enjoy it themselves. Instead, it's given to the wife's family to support her brothers. There's a saying, once the parents are gone, siblings are just relatives. This rings true. Many siblings start fighting over inheritance long before their parents pass away. By the time we reach 70, our relationships with siblings resemble those with distant relatives. You might not see them more than once a year, even though there's a blood connection. Some siblings may still try to borrow money or ask for financial help. In old age, life is hard for everyone. Many people fail to prepare for their retirement, leaving them barely scraping by in old age. Take Aunt Wang as an example. When she was young, her parents married her off to a man 10 years older, all for a dowry of 100,000 yuan. After marriage, whenever her brother faced difficulties, her mother would come crying to her, begging her to help. In her parents' eyes, she was the family's money tree. Whether her brother was getting married, buying a house, or starting a business, she was always expected to contribute financially. Out of filial piety, she quietly endured this exploitation for years. But as she grew older, her parents passed away, and her husband died before her. Aside from her own children, her brother was her only family left. At 65, her brother had a falling out with his daughter-in-law and was thrown out of the house. With nowhere else to go, he turned to his sister for help. Aunt Wang couldn't bear to see her brother homeless, so she tidied up her old house and let him live there rent-free. But this meant she lost the 2,500 yuan a month she had been earning from renting out the house. Worse yet, her brother was diagnosed with stomach cancer and needed hospitalization. His son, being ungrateful, refused to take care of him, even demanding Aunt Wang take responsibility. In the end, she was forced to dip into her retirement savings to cover his medical bills, which caused a rift with her own children. To make matters worse, despite all the money spent, she couldn't save her brother's life. When she asked her nephew to repay the money, he refused to acknowledge the debt. In the end, the money was gone, and nothing came of it. No matter how close siblings may have been as children, as adults, each will have their own family and children. Even the best relationships require boundaries, especially when it comes to money. 3. Don't give your house to your descendants. It's your foundation for old age. ***. Some elders believe that transferring their property to their descendants will secure their care in old age. However, reality proves that once the house is given, it's almost impossible to expect the recipient to care for you. Moreover, other descendants who didn't receive the house may become resentful, refusing to share the responsibility of caring for you. Take Grandpa Wang for example. At 70, his only son passed away due to illness. Hoping his grandson would take care of him in the future, he transferred his only house to him. Grandpa Wang had a monthly pension of 4,000 yuan, enough to live comfortably as long as his health held out. However, once his grandson sold the house 3 years later, Grandpa Wang's life fell apart. The promise of care only lasted 3 months, and after that, his grandson abandoned him. With no home, Grandpa Wang had to rent a place with his own money. As he grew older and could no longer care for himself, he had no choice but to move into a nursing home. Without his son and abandoned by his grandson, his later years were filled with hardship and loneliness. He had been betrayed by someone he thought would care for him. As the saying goes, a golden nest or silver nest is not as good as your own doghouse. After 70, no matter the size of your house, it's better to keep it for yourself. Mo Yin once said, "Those with kind hearts often mature late, and they are rushed into maturity by life's difficulties. Even after becoming aware of reality, they remain kind and sincere, continuously seeking out kindred spirits, only to find themselves the most lonely in the end." After 70, no matter how many years you have left, don't be confused. Always plan for the long term. Take care of your money and your house, and value your health. When you are old, as long as you are not at death's door, your greatest reliance will always be yourself, your money, your home, and your healthy body. If your children are ungrateful, you can go to a nursing home, hire a caregiver, or give your money to whichever child is willing to care for you. With your own house, you won't have to look to others for permission to live there, and it will remain your ultimate bargaining chip. As you age, watch your words, guard your wealth, maintain your health, and enjoy a happy, peaceful old age. That's how you win. May all elders in the world enjoy health and be well cared for in their old age.